Hello there, friends. Hi. Reflections, contemplations, insights, science of mind, a philosophy, a faith, a way of life. Referencing page 288, See Life Expressed. Do I look at myself from a standpoint of restriction or expansion? Do I look at my life as limited or limitless? Do I see life limited to the eternal round of getting up in the morning, eating, going to work, coming home, going to bed, sleeping, getting up again and again and again, and so on? Can you relate? Break the bonds. I call it interrupt the patterns. Interrupt the patterns and the patterning. Break the bonds of apparent necessity and see life as one continuous expression of an infinite self. And as this conception gradually dawns upon the inner thought that I have, something will happen in the outer conditions to relieve the greater demands of necessity. So lately, I've been looking and really discerning what I'm doing and what for. What is my why? So I just got back from a convention that I attend every year that is a ministry support, and I'm there to serve those who serve. And I was noticing that I'm doing the same thing I always do. I'm going without discerning, is this honest for me? I also noticed there's parts of the convention that I don't like. I don't want to do it anymore. I've done it for 20 some years. It's lost its flavor. I'm not as invested. I'm in a different phase of my life. So I'm questioning then, how can I be at the convention and do it differently? So, for example, I didn't spend as many days there, which also reduced the cost of it substantially, hotel meals, etc. It also, my reason to be there was not really to attend a convention, but to serve ministers, to bolster up ministers, to connect. And since I'm not traveling as much as I have for the last 20 years to do ministry work, it was to have face-to-face time with them, to be in person, to give a hug or to share a meal. And they have a banquet each year on Thursdays, and I didn't want to go to the banquet. I've not ever really enjoyed it. And I go because I habitually go. I'm patterned to go without ever discerning. So instead of going to something I didn't want because I'm going through the motions and not questioning what I want to do, I interrupted that pattern, for example, and flew out on Thursday instead. So it was kinder to myself. It also was yet another way to have more money, which I turned around and used that money to pay for some meals for some ministers that was there. And that was far more exciting to me, far more interesting to me than having another night there to do something I didn't really want to do, as an example. So where could you interrupt the pattern? Where could you see that I'm not as restricted as the patterning has me restricted? That there's another option for me. There's another possibility for me. So what would be a kinder thing for me to do, or what would even be a more interesting thing for me to do instead? So break the bonds of the patterning, break the bonds of the apparent necessity. Free yourself forever from the thought that God may be pleased by a life of sacrifice, that the world is any better because of your misery or suffering, and that righteousness is more perfectly expressed through poverty than through clarity, or poverty instead of abundance, possibility. Know that the greater abundance of every good thing which you are bringing out in your life, the more perfectly you are satisfying the divine urge within you, the more integral we are, the more potential we hold. So the reason we get tired is that we have cross currents in our thought, conflicting currents in our thought. And for me, I'm out of integrity with myself. This arises from the patterning, the habituated, the domesticated, and the trying to do it right instead of to try to do the right thing. So, what would you interrupt today? See you tomorrow.